Anyone who heard or read the latest assessment of the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, and these are the thousands of scientists around the world picked by their governments to look at all the peer-reviewed research on climate change. Anybody who read or heard this will know that it's not just time for urgent action, it's long overdue. But there still is time to act if the politics can respond to the science in time. Here, we're going to have 4 members of the Earth for All team that have produced this very special report 50 years on by the Club of Rome for this Stockholm Plus 50 conference. They're going to give us a deeper dive into their landmark report, and we have the honor to preview it. Sandrine Dixson-Declève is the co-president of the Club of Rome and one of the project leaders of the Earth for All initiative. Sandrine, it's a delight to see you again. So tell us, why Earth for All, why now, and what do you want to achieve?
Hi, Nick. It's great to see you too. And thanks again for this very important initiative. We don't have time, I think, pretty much summarizes what we think about. At the Club of Rome and Earth for All, as you know, we're marking the 50th anniversary of the Club of Rome's seminal publication, The Limits to Growth. And it's really time to say enough is enough to all leaders to stand up to the plate and put in place economic and financial systems that service people, planet, and prosperity together. So how do we do that? Knowing that we only have 8 years left in this decisive decade. COVID, conflict, and climate change is shaking our economies, our well-being, but it's also woken us up, and so many people across the globe, to transformation and the fact that we can transform for good or for bad. So what are we seeing? Well, we're seeing, first of all, that 74% of people in G20 countries want transformation, and they want well-being economies. And together, this international initiative, the Earth for All initiative, has worked by bringing together economists from across the globe, by bringing together modelers that are looking at system dynamic modeling in order to show the pathways that are necessary for long-term prosperity for all on a relatively stable planet. And it's possible. It's possible to transform our economies, to shift from GDP growth that leaves the majority behind to well-being economies that service people, planet, and prosperity. But we need nothing less than 5 turnarounds on ending poverty, on addressing gross inequality, reaching gender equity, transitioning to clean energy, and making our food system healthy for people and for the planet. If we act now with the largest effort and investment in the decade between 2020 to 2030, so as I said, we only have 8 more years, then within a single generation, we can achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and work beyond them and remain within the planetary boundaries. This will require reshaping markets. And we show clearly in our data, in our analysis, in these pathways, that we can do that step by step. We show that we can also rethink our economies, bring in circular and regenerative economies, look at the well-being economy indicators and go beyond GDP. And that we also very much need to think about that systemic transformation at scale and how we can optimize our policies so that we're not just focusing on climate, but we're looking at climate from an equity, an equality, a poverty lens. This systemic transformation at scale and at speed will require collective action by the world's governments, by citizens, by leaders in businesses, investors, all of the above. But we also know that the investments required to deliver these solutions amount to approximately 2 to 4% of national income. And that's not a huge amount. We can do this, and it can be covered by the world's richest 10%, who control 50% of global income. So, in summary, the window remains open to create a much better future for the majority of people on a livable planet. We have to stop crowdfunding catastrophe. We have to adopt an emergency plan of action. I was just on the Stockholm Plus 50 leadership dialogues, and I called out to leaders once again. We need action. We need timetables. We need commitments that are going to give us clear goals to achieve these turnarounds. Earth for All shows what's possible. Together, we can make it possible. We will offer the policy recommendations necessary and work with governments and citizens to make sure that this becomes a movement so that the next Earth Day, and I promise you this, and every Earth Day henceforth, we can show that we're not only the most intelligent species, as Jane Goodall likes to remind us, but also the wisest, because Jane Goodall warns us that we are not so wise when we look at the existential risk that we have created for ourselves by continuing to live beyond the planetary boundaries. So this is good news, and I'm looking forward to hearing from the other panelists who are working with me on this incredible project. And the call out to all of you listening today is go to the Earth for All website and follow us and join the movement.
Great. Thanks, Sandrine. And great. I hope the governments are going to pick up this document at Stockholm Plus 50 and do what they need to do. So let's move on.